Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Indie Game Spotlight. And today we're really excited to have with us Viktor, who's going to talk all about his game, Streets of Magic. Thanks for joining us, Viktor.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, everyone. Or as I should say in
Hello.
Dutch, hoi iedereen.
You're just showing off now. We know
Yeah,
English, bad
yeah,
English, and worse English. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know Dutch, English, and like a little bit of German. So I guess I'm ahead of you guys.
Oh, definitely.
I-
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was one of the things. The few times we've gone over to the Netherlands, we have noticed how everybody speaks loads of languages,
yeah,
and then there's us from the UK with
Yeah.
one. So no,
yeah.
well done.
Yeah. We watch a lot of English language TV, and we get the BBC and all that stuff. I grew up on the BBC. I used to watch all the British sitcoms and like all that stuff. So yeah, I learned English pretty early on.
Yes, that's what we heard when we were out there. We
Yeah.
were always told that, you know, because there's so much TV was in English.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you picked up. But we're here to talk about Streets of Magic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Streets of Magic, what inspired you to create this game?
So I've been making games for a while. Like I think I'm coming up on like 4 years now, something like that. And I've always just done supplements for existing games. So my first book was a 5e book. My second big book was for Old School Essentials, and then the one I did last year was for Shadow Dog. And I enjoy doing that stuff. But I felt I was kind of at the point where I wanted to have my own game. I wanted to kind of level up as a creator, so I decided to have my own OSR game out there. Even if it's not so much of a success at first, and as say my Shadow Dog products, I don't really care. Like I just want to have my own stuff out there. On top of that, I've always been interested in urban fantasy and kind of mixing the modern with the mundane with the otherworldly, basically. And I've done stuff with that for like years now, probably like close to 25 years. I started in like the late 90s, early 2000s with that. My first RPG was Shadow One. I played a lot of D20 Modern back in the day, like Urban Arcana. I used to play and I used to run what was called multi-user dungeons, mods.
Yeah.
So like online text games, and one that I ran was basically like, what if the Forgotten Realms was like the 21st century? So that like water deep with skyscrapers and stuff like that. So I've been doing stuff like that for years. And then movies like Bright came out, which at first I kind of felt stole my thunder, and then I was like, no, it's a cool movie. So I've always wanted to do stuff like that ever since I started designing RPGs. And like I said, I started with supplements, but now I'm at the point where I want to do my own game. So that's Streets of Magic. It's kind of the culmination of the last few years of work, like refining my systems, how I approach game design, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's basically it's Earth, but fantasy stuff exists. As far as we know, it has always existed, at least since prehistory. There's like a whole background with the Fae and stuff like that that I'm coming up with. And then on top of that, I'm kind of keeping it timeless, like purposely anachronistic, where you're not quite sure, is it like the 50s, is it the 80s, like I don't know, which is in turn inspired by movies like the 1989 Batman movie, where Gotham City is kind of like that, like you're not quite sure where it's set in. Same with the 90s Batman cartoon. And then a big inspiration, which people could guess from the title and from the cover probably, is Streets of Fire. Another 80s movie that kind of has like that timeless vibe. It's set in the 50s, like looks wise, but they're playing like 80s rock music. They purposely say like, oh, this is like somewhere at some point in time, like at the beginning of the movie. So yeah, that was kind of the inspiration for that. And I just decided to combine the two. So yeah, that's Streets of Magic, basically. It's kind of like this timeless, noirish, like urban fantasy setting.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
There's that sort of urban fantasy. I personally love, used to love Shadowrun. So, when you start talking about the fact you've looked at moving into that sort of urban setting, I think that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So, if I was to say to you, over here we have really, really simple And over here we have really, really crunchy.
Yeah.
Where would you put your system?
It's probably leaning a bit more towards simple, but I wouldn't call it like Morkborg simple or whatever. Like there's a bit more to it than that. It's a classic for. It has my own twists and my own custom stuff, but it's a classic OSR game. It's based on white box, like the core of it is white box. So it's like the 3 stats or the 6 stats. It's like saving throws and all that stuff. Um, it might get a little bit complex in the combat, like more complex than regular OSR, like D&D likes, because I have modern weapons, so I have like all this stuff included to facilitate modern weapons, like how to do full auto fire, like how to use grenades and explosives and stuff like that. So it gets a little bit more crunchy there than it does in normal D&D, like I said. But for the most part, it should be pretty simple. I'm streamlining a lot of stuff. I'm keeping it fairly straightforward. So
Also, I'm assuming, therefore, that you use the full sort of polyhedral dice set.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. I have to admit, I do love. I'm just looking over at my dice to the side here. I do love the good old, polyhedral dice sets.
same,
They just always seem to work.
Yeah. The core of it is D20. You use that for combat. You use that for skills, saving throws. But then there's usage die, which you use anything from a D2 to a D12. All the weapon damage uses anything from a D2 to D12. So you can use basically like all the standard die in this game.
All right. Well, in that case, I think we're leading directly into your mechanics.
Yeah.
Sort of. Let's start off with your core mechanics. Let's go through how they work, and then Dean will do his usual, which is ask you lots of questions around it.
Yeah. So the biggest mechanic, and it's kind of like a custom one. It's derived from saving throws, but I call them challenge throws. So basically, I took the universal saving throw system from White Box, where every class uses the same saving throw table, and you just like the classes and the races and stuff. They just get like bonuses or minuses. I took that and I made it kind of like so I expanded on it, and I gave them difficulty tiers, so they go from easy to extreme. And those challenge throws, that table, you use for saving throws, you use for skill throws, and you use for magic throws. So all of those, they use the same table. And then, like I said, classes and races, and like maybe if you're carrying like a special artifact or something, those can give you bonuses on those rolls, or they can give you negatives on those rolls. So yeah, that was kind of my way to streamline it, so I could still have skills, because I love skills. And I think those are also fairly important for like a kind of an urban fantasy modern themed game. But I didn't want a whole separate system for those. So I just looked at the saving throw system and I was like, how can I turn this into kind of like a more universal mechanic where it isn't just used for like, hey, I got poisoned, let me see if I die or not. No, it's also used for lockpicking, or if you want to like drive your car at high speed down the highway. It's also used for if you want to cast a spell, because I use Wall to Cast rather than Vancian magic with spell slots and stuff. So yeah, that's like the big mechanic, and I call it challenge throws.
So that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I've really got loads of questions. This sounds absolutely fantastic. I thought at the beginning, OSR, okay, we're talking fairly standard, but you've already gone off into a different direction, and I love that. Can I just clarify one thing? So when you talk about saving throws, my vision of the sort of, and you mentioned the white box, trying to think what the white box, because I came in on the red box, the Beckme stuff, and then moved into first and then briefly and then into second edition. Saving throws within the white box, are they a number that you've got to roll equal to or higher?
Yeah.
So it is that. So what you've done, you've expanded that in two ways, from what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. The first one you've done is you've added across the top of the saving throws from easy to very hard. Did you say extreme?
No, mythic even. I think the hardest that I do is mythic.
Is mythic, right. Yeah. So that solves one of the problems we always had with saving throws, which is saving throws got easier and easier and easier until you could no longer fail them. So your saving throw is now actually based on what, not just the attack, whether it's a poison breath weapon or something like that, but also how powerful that attack is.
Yeah. or how difficult the skill check is, or how difficult the magic check is.
Okay,
basically.
so now we move to skills, and you've mentioned something which obviously OSRs do not typically have skills. It's all attribute based. Until second edition came along and brought in your proficiencies. So you've expanded your saving throws, and you've now included. So you got your, death, rod, staff, wand, and all of those saves, but you've now got skills afterwards, like athletics, acrobatics, stuff like that.
And also they're not the classic like death and wand and all that stuff. So I do have custom saving throws. So it's like save versus stress, save versus reflex, save versus toughness, and those still kind of cover like all those bases. But I gave him a little bit of my own flavor, and I modernized them a bit just for the setting. So
Oh, brilliant! So there were 5 saving throws. How many do you have?
Let's see. So actually, I can probably open my file. I'm really bad at remembering my own rules off the top of my head.
I understand that completely.
So give me 1 second, and I'll open my file real quick.
We completely understand that, because sometimes, even though you do it so often, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's just like, hang on, how many is it? It's that.
It all depends what you've been working on for the day as well, because your mind might be over here, and someone asks you a question of something over there, and you're having to.
Well, I'm also working on like 3 different projects at once right now, so let's see. I just opened my old Affinity file, my layout file. Let's see. Challenge throws. I just saw them. What are they? There we go. So I have save versus toughness, save versus reflex, save versus nerve, save versus magic, and save versus awareness.
So you've kept to the 5.
Yeah.
And then you then go into skills. So roughly how many skills are there?
I think like 20-ish, something like that.
Yeah. But they also include
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, even more, like 26.
26.
Yeah.
But that includes combat, general skills, and magic.
It doesn't include combat. So combat, I just keep, it's just D20, you roll against AC, which we can get into later, because I also changed that a little bit. And, all that stuff. Skills basically just cover, like, what can my character do besides that? Like, am I good at lockpicking? Am I good at sneaking? Am I good at computers? Am I good at driving cars? Like, all that stuff.
Brilliant. Okay, and magic and combat are kind of separate to Okay, we'll ignore. We got sections to talk about magic and combat in a bit. So, but at the moment, very excited about how this is panning out. So, whereas saving throw has a number that you got to roll or higher, I take it your skills have a number, but that number's based on your class.
So they all use that same table. So the table have the difficulties, and those difficulties under them have the numbers.
Yeah.
And they each have like numbers, and they go from like lower to higher. And then they also improve. They do lower as you level a little bit. So difficulties get easier as you level as well.
Yeah.
And it's basically just like a DC, or it's like a challenge rating for everything. So if you have a skill, the referee's like, hey, the lock picking this door is like a medium or a moderate throw. So you check your table. Okay, moderate. I'm level 3, so I have to be the 12.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the way you do it. And you do that the same thing for saving throws, and you do the same thing for magic throws.
Okay.
It's very, very simple.
It sounds fantastic. That number though, will that number, that 12, will that be different to a different class? So
no. So so it's all the same table. So everyone uses
so
the same
regardless
table.
of what class you are, you use the same table, and that's for the saving throws and the skills.
Yeah, and the classes, they basically just give you like, hey, I'm the thief class, so I get a +2 to like anything involving sneaking and lockpicking and all that stuff.
And that's how you build. So instead of having lots of different tables depending on your class, one table, and the adjustments are in the class.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, brilliant. That sounds really straightforward.
Yeah.
Like that.
So you're always rolling high. You got this lovely, this almost dynamic DC that gets lower as you level.
Yeah.
And I take it you still add an attribute bonus to certain skills?
So you add your attribute bonus, you add your skill bonus, because you have skills and you can put points into that. And then you also add like whatever bonus or negative you have from your class or from your race or from artifact you're carrying, or like maybe you have like electronic lockpicks, and those give like a +1 to lockpicking. So that's like all the stuff you can add or subtract, and then
So you've got these numbers: attribute, your skill, any training you've got in it, your class, any items, gear, and anything else, and then that gives you a number. Roll a d20, add that number, get higher, equal to or higher than the number on your table. Straightforward. Fantastic. Yeah, I like it.
I've got a quick question.
Go on.
Sure.
Does that mean that table is on a character sheet that that the players can reference?
Yeah, so I am planning to make a custom character sheet for this game.
Brilliant.
So every character sheet is just going to have that table on it, standard.
Because
maybe if I ever do like a
really nice. I was just thinking that reminds me of back in the day. I'm sounding old now. When we used to have the THACO tables, we used to put the THACO table at the bottom.
Oh,
hang on a second.
Yeah,
what have I done?
Just there we go.
Oh, yeah.
You got a zoomable camera, and I think it's on drift again. If you want to.
Yeah. No, I'm too big. No.
Other way.
How do I do that? Make it go small. There we go.
There we go.
That'll do. Right, now it's stopped.
Okay.
Right, we will definitely cut that bit out. Woo. So sorry about that.
No worries.
So yes, so the THACO. I'm not going to do the hand signals because it sent the camera monkey. But the THACO table at the bottom of character sheets, that always used to help me. Because it just means there's far less that I have to remember. So are you thinking about popping your table for these particular saves onto your character sheet?
Yeah, so they're going to be on the character sheet. Maybe if I ever do like a referee screen, they'll probably be on that too. I mean, it's important for the referee as well, because they use the same table for like NPCs and stuff like that. And they can, make sure that the players aren't cheating. So that's why I wanted to just use the one table, because it's like you said, it's kind of like the old combat matrix and stuff where it was used to be on the character sheet. So
I like that. I really do.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got this one table. Do the numbers, so just focusing on the saving throws. Are the saving throws all the same number across the board in the range? So if I look at a medium save, would I get the same number all down all the saves, or do they vary?
No, so they do lower. So as you level, the saves do you get a better chance. So for say a moderate save, they start at 13, and then at level time they're at 9.
Okay, so a moderate save across all my 5 saving throws is a 13.
Yeah. And then if you have any bonuses and stuff, that depends on your class. Again.
So your
classes might
your table could be the numbers including your bonuses. So immediately you're not having to do maths again each time you roll. You can actually factor in, and that's what we did with THACO tables back in the day. We'd have your standard THACO, but then we'd adjust it for each of the weapons, and so we know what numbers we're what we're looking at when we roll a d20.
So if you're level 1, any moderate save is, that's a 13. And then any modifiers just literally depend on your character. So
So you've got a matrix for difficulty and level. And that applies to your saving throws and your skills. And then your bonuses are separate. So that is actually quite an elegant system. I'm just thinking the maths side of things. You almost just need that kind of matrix on your character sheet. No matter what level you are, instantly what you're rolling against.
Because I wanted skills, and skills, like you guys kind of said, it's not really OSR-ish at the end of the day. But I wanted to find a way to still have them be kind of like, give them that OSR feel. So that's why I went for like this universal kind of like table that's a variant of the saving throw table. And I've been working on that idea for a while. Like there's like earlier versions of that in some of my previous products. So this is kind of like the culmination of like trying to figure it out.
Do you know it sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's really going to work with the different modifiers coming from your class and stuff like that. That gives you your variance across one class to another. I also think you're setting this in a modern setting. Whereas with kind of the old school medieval-ish, you could kind of get around the fact that people didn't need training. It came down more to attributes. I think in a modern setting, it comes down more to what you're trained to do rather than your attributes. So
there's so much different things that you can do. Like you can be a pilot, you can be a scientist, you can be an engineer. So at that point, I think skills are pretty important to have.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's a big tick in the system. I'm like you. I love my skills.
Yeah,
I think they help define a character and give the character depth.
All the games I used to play had skills, so I kind of like love them. So I always like try to put them in there somehow.
Fantastic. I like that. When it comes to your attributes, standard attribute array, so 3d6 range.
Yeah, so the standard way to roll them is just 3d6 down the line, like like the nice old school way. It's the 6 attributes down from strength to. I do call them differently just for flavor purposes. So strength is like muscle and stuff like that. But I do have like the old school names like in brackets behind them, just so people like know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
A little bit of familiarity tied in with your flavor, which is quite nice.
Yeah. But they all work the same way. They're essentially the same thing. But for setting reasons, I wanted to give them my own names just because I think that was fun. So,
okay. And the bonus you get from your attribute, is it the classic where an 18 is a +3, and then your 16, 17's +2, 13, 14, 15 is then a +1?
I did change them a little, so an 18 to 19 is a +4 in mine. So I max them out at 25, but technically that you can only reach that if you have like really powerful artifacts. So I don't have where you gain attribute points as you level, like in 5e or whatever. It's like, oh, now I'm level 4, so I get to like put +2 into whatever. You don't have that. For the most part, your attributes are fixed. But you might find a belt of giant strength in like some old ruins. So I do have like a little bit of a higher numbers in the list, just so people can check like, oh, okay, that's a +7 modifier if I wear that belt of giant strength. Yeah. And then I also like I'm also doing the thing where certain races will give you bonuses or negatives to your attributes. So
yeah, does that affect the attribute maximum?
Yeah. So wall-wise, so it's 3d6. Wall-wise, you're only ever going to max out at an 18.
Yeah.
But say if you're like an orc and you have a +1 to strength, or +2 to strength even. I haven't really decided yet what I'm going to do with the attribute bonuses. Like, that's still on the table. But then you could end at a 19 or a 20. And at a 20, well, you're going to have a +5 rather than a +4. So, yeah.
Okay, so your attribute bonuses are very similar to the ones from 3.5. Where for every 2 attribute points you got a +1 or a -1.
I might still tweak that. Like not everything is quite fixed yet. Like I'm still working on a lot of stuff. I'm still experimenting, but that's how it is thus far. So
no, it's a great place to start with stuff like that. I was just wondering whether you were using the actual old school kind of attribute array where you end up with this big empty space in the very middle. Where your attribute really does nothing.
No, I don't like that either. So
I always found that a bit odd. Same with AD&D. You ended up with this big sort of dead space in your attribute, which, apart from how skills were done, didn't do much. Okay, so we've covered rolling. Races.
Yeah.
How many different races do you have in your world?
So I have all the standard ones. So there's elf, dwarf. I'm doing orcs. I'm doing gnomes. Like all the standard fantasy races. And then I'm adding at least a couple kind of like custom races. So one is called warclocks. And they're basically like clockwork robots, like clockwork people. Yeah. And they're called warclocks. And then another race that I'm putting in is kind of like a variant on humans, but they have like distant fayish blood. And they're like kind of picture like what if King Arthur's family was still around and they were your royal family rather than the Windsors. Because in my setting, King Arthur came back during the War of the Roses, and it was like, yeah, well, I'm taking back Britain, guys. So like his bloodline, they have like distant fayish blood. So like his bloodline have like distant fayish blood. So, they're like a little bit ethereal. They have like a higher affinity for magic and stuff like that. And there's other people like that running around the world too. So there's kind of like a human variant that they have higher affinity for magic, but they do worse with technology and stuff like that. And they're like a little bit more old school. And then I'm not quite sure yet about any of the other races. I might like add another one or two custom. But like I said, I'm still working on stuff technically, and I've new ideas all the time. So I would say so far it's probably like 6 or 7 or 8 races if you count all the standard like fantasy ones.
I've got a question around that.
Yeah.
And my question around that is, you've just mentioned about the fact that, like the kings and queens, you've brought back Arthur. How have you brought in the elves and the dwarves to what is essentially Earth? What sort of lore have you weaved around that, and how difficult has it been to weave that lore in, to bring them into your world?
It wasn't actually all that difficult, because basically what I'm doing is that at some point during prehistory, let's say the Stone Age, like 15, 20,000 years ago, the Fae showed up. And in my setting, they were basically like dimension-hopping demigods almost. And they just kind of took over Earth. And they built the ley line networks. They built like, all these magnificent cities. They had like, their mythical swords and artifacts and stuff like that. And then the dwarves, the elves, like all those races were basically like their servitor races that they created, like that they magically created. So the elves were like their high level like servants, like their beautiful concubines and stuff like that. The dwarves were like, hey, we need some people to go mine over there, so let's build these stocky guys that love going underground. Let's have the gnomes as our scribes and stuff like that. So that's basically how I explain all the fantasy races. So they were like the servitor races that were left behind by the Fae, because at some point, and nobody's exactly sure why, because that's like high level archaeology, and there's like all these like theories. It's like what was the Great Pyramid of Giza for? Like, I don't know. So everyone's like, why did the Fae disappear? Yeah. So why did the Fae disappear? Like, I don't know. They just disappeared at some point, like 10,000 years ago, and they left all the stuff behind. Yeah. So
that's really quite exciting, because that's quite nice, because you've got that air of mystery.
Yeah.
And it also gives you sort of plot points that you could potentially bring in later, with maybe if the Fae return and stuff like that.
Yeah. And maybe there's some still around, like in hiding. Who knows? Yeah. So
yeah.
They could just be watching. It could be just a grand experiment.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
No, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So they're kind of part of your lore from the very start. So the history of you called it very similar to Earth.
Yeah.
But if we replicated our history in your world, our race, your dwarves are there right from the start, including your elves and your gnomes.
Yeah. And
you mentioned something interesting with the gnomes. You mentioned them being scribes. Does that mean your gnomes are incredibly intelligent?
Yeah.
So your gnomes are more the traditional mythological gnome, rather than your short sort of garden variety gnome.
Yeah, there's also going to be a variant of that. I'm probably going to just give them the Dutch name kabouters. Basically, like kind of like the arch gnomes, I guess, if you want to call them that, are like the smart, scribey, like scholarly types. And then you've got like the little tricksters with like the red caps, like running around. So yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of taking from multiple sources and putting them in. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've covered about characters. One last thing. I'm just assuming hit points as standard.
I do give like a variant for how you want to do hit points, like if you want to be a little bit more lethal and gritty. So
you can kind of ratchet the game to either be very forgiving or sort of old school hardcore kind of.
Basically you can do it like kind of like the more modern way, where every time you level, you just roll your hit points and you get to add that to the existing hit points, or the more old school way where you roll, and if you roll better, that replaces your previous hit points.
Oh, so that's right. The whole re-rolling of all the dice each time you leveled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you have like 7 hit points and you roll an 8, well, that's your new hit point total. So it's up to you what you want to do. So
it's always good to have options. And I'm assuming that race and class are separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep those separate. Yeah.
Okay, sounds fantastic. I think we're ready to move on to character classes, if that's okay.
Funny enough, exactly where I was going to head into next.
Yeah, do you want to take this, Vicky? Yeah.
I will start on this one, if George lets me. Yes, George is curled up in the table in front of me, Victor. He's decided that this is so interesting, he wants to hear it firsthand himself.
Yeah. I know how it goes with cats, yeah.
And I have about as much choice in this as he's actually napping. So if there is snoring, I'd like to point out it's him, not me.
Yeah.
Because he does snore. So I typically am a player. So Dean is typically the GM, and I'm typically always get to play because I'm really lucky. I think I've GM'd once. I will GM a bit more, but so therefore things like character classes are a real interest to me because I want to know what I can play.
Yeah.
So first of all, could you just take us through what your standard character classes are, and then we can get into a bit of detail.
So they're not all quite done yet. Again, like, the game is still in active development, but I do tend to go overboard with classes because I love classes and I love writing them. It's like one of my favorite things to do as a game designer is write classes. Like, I'm always known for having way too many. Not in my opinion, but in some people's
Not in my
opinions.
opinion. There's never too many classes.
Yeah. Well, especially in modern settings. I love leaning into archetypes, and when you get into modern settings, there's a lot of archetypes. So one of the classes that I have, like the kind of like the core, like almost like fighter type class, is the shooter. So you're a gun person. You're all about guns. I have the sneak, which is kind of like the thief/rogue. I have the expert, which is like it could be anything from an engineer to like an inventor to like a demolition specialist. I'm gonna have like a martial arts class. I'm gonna kind of have like a more science-based class. I'm gonna have a magic class, so you're gonna be a wizard or a warlock or whatever you want to be. Because I'm also doing subclasses, but I'll get into that, I guess. I'm gonna have kind of like a cleric class, so you can be like a modern like priest, using like holy powers. I'm pondering maybe doing kind of like a take on the modern paladin. I'm not quite sure yet, but I might also fold that into the cleric type with one of the subclasses. I'm not quite sure yet. So yeah, I'm basically
just interesting because I've got a question around that. If you're looking at clerics and this is a earth type world, are you leaning into either some of the past or current religions, or have you completely revamped and gone down a different route?
No, so it's the earth religions. So you can be like, if you wanted to be, you can be like a Catholic paladin or like a Norse like shaman type thing guy. So like that's actually one of the reasons they speculate is that the Fae disappeared is because human religion started to kind of get a bit too powerful for them to deal with. So yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned archetypes when we first started talking about classes. How many archetypes? So by the sounds of it, you're looking at a lot of different classes.
Yeah.
How many archetypes are you looking at? Because of course you've got to consider all the modern archetypes. So how many of those are you looking at?
Well, so the way I'm handling that is that there's the core classes, and those kind of cover like the main archetype. So like I said, the shooter, it's like you're the gun guy. But then I also have what I literally call archetypes, and they're basically just subclasses, and each class gets 4 of those. You use those to kind of like expand on the core concept and get a little bit more detailed with it. So the shooter has an archetype called what was it? Sorry. Gunfighter, which is like a pistol. You're like a pistolier. You can like you're specialized in pistols. You can like gunsling and quick draw and all that stuff. There's one called a sweeper, and you just love shotguns, and all your stuff is built around shotguns. I have the trooper. You're like a soldier or a mercenary, and you're good at automatic weapons. I have the sniper. Well, that should be self-evident what you do. You snipe. And then the same way for all the other classes. So the sneak, which is kind of like the thief rogue class, their archetypes are operative. So you're like a spy, like Black Ops specialist. Like you're really good at disappearing into crowds, like Jason Bourne. You're like good at disguises and stuff like that. Or you can be a burglar. You know, you're just a classic thief. You just you're a cat burglar. You break into places and you steal stuff. Or you can be an assassin, and you can you have bonuses to getting behind people and gewarding them or stuff like that. You're good with poisons. I have the scout, which is kind of like my take on the ranger. So you're like a wilderness like survivalist. You're good at tracking and surviving and ambushing people out in the wilds and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I'm handling it, where I can keep the core classes kind of within reason, but then I can go wild with the subclasses basically.
Okay, what does the core class give you, and then what does the archetype add to that core class?
So the core classes gives you like the basic abilities. So for example, the shooter, you get a weapon specialty. So you can, the classic, you can pick a weapon and you get a +1 bonus to attacks with that weapon, and you get to pick more of those, or you can stack those bonuses on a particular weapon if you want to specialize as you level up. They get tactical reload, where the usage die for the reloads improves. So if your pistol normally has a reload die of D6, with tactical reloads, now it's a D8. They get double tap, so they can make multi-attacks. So stuff like that, kind of like basics. But then for the subclass, for example, Sweeper, which is the shotgun one, they get Shotgun Surgeon at second level. When using a shotgun with the spread quality, so basically the way shotguns work real quick, if you have like buckshot, they have a chance to hit multiple people at once with each shot if they're like clustered. When using a shotgun with the spread quality, any additional enemies the Sweeper wants to hit with the spread suffer disadvantage on their reflex save to avoid the attack. So they basically get abilities that play into like their particular archetype. So if they use shotguns, they're better at using shotguns because that's what they like to do. So
okay. And on the leveling side of things, you mentioned level 2 for getting this ability.
Yeah.
I've gone a shooter. So I'm level 1 shooter.
Yeah.
And then I select 4 archetypes that are attached to that shooter class.
You get access to, it's kind of like 5e. You get access to those at like 3rd level. So the first 2 levels, you're just your base class. And then once you get a high enough level, if you're lucky enough to survive, you get to kind of like go into an archetype and specialize.
So I'm just the base class to begin with. Get to 2nd level, I choose an archetype.
Yeah.
And gain its power. Effectively, and then at a later level I get a 2nd archetype, and then a 3rd, and then finally a 4th.
Oh no, you just get 1 archetype. Like you only have to pick 1 archetype basically.
Oh right, okay. So, so I've got a class, I pick right, so it is effectively your subclass. But you're planning to have a lot of these sort of subclasses attached to the class. Got it. Absolutely fine. I think that's pretty good. What is the level range that you can get to?
I max out the level at 10.
Level 10?
And because that kind of gave me like a nice spread of having the abilities that you get at certain levels for the core class, and then I could fill in the gaps with the subclasses. So at level 5, so you get your subclass at level 2, I think. 2. I said 3 earlier, but it's 2. You get your level subclass at 2, but then your 2nd ability from that subclass you get at level 5, because that's kind of like a gap in the core class. Like the core class doesn't have an ability at level 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think that's pretty much how 5e works, isn't it? You either get an ability from your class, and all classes get abilities at the same levels, and then subclasses fill in the gaps.
So it's a little bit 5e-ish. It's not really OSR, I suppose, but I don't know. I wanted a way to make the classes a little bit more interesting. And instead of having 50 classes, I decided to just do subclasses, so all the existing classes kind of can go into a specific direction.
And that makes absolute sense. And what you're doing, you kind of fusing some of the old school stuff with some of the new school stuff. And I think
and I fully admit that on my Kickstarter page.
I think that's a great way to design. Take the best bits that you really like, put them together, make a fusion. It worked for food, so why shouldn't it work for tabletop?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It worked for Kelsey Dion, so yeah.
Yeah. You also then mentioned something else, a disadvantage. So you use the advantage disadvantage system?
Yeah. I initially I was doing like, oh, this is a +2 and this is a +4, but like that stuff was kind of driving me crazy. Like having to think like, what should this be? Should this be a +2 or a +4 or a +6? Yeah. And then I was looking at Shadow Dog because I was writing on my Shadow Dog supplement that I did last year. And I was like, you know what? This worked for Kelsey. I'm just going to do advantage and disadvantage too. It's nice and simple. It's streamlined. It works perfectly. It works for a lot of edge cases too. So yeah. I just went that route.
And it's you've already got a lot of numbers as part of your character. Putting them together to find out what your bonuses are. The last thing you want on top of that is even more numbers when it comes to difficulty. And it's advantage, disadvantage. It works well.
Yeah.
If I was to ask you in your head right now, because you might not have done all of them yet, but if I was to ask you which class that you are either have already created or you're mid-creating was your most unusual, which one would you choose, or subclass?
So far my most unusual one is probably the expert, which is kind of like the inventor, like engineer class, because one of their abilities that I gave them is literally called MacGyvering, and they can make kind of like items on the fly. So it's like, hey, our team needs like a lockpick. Let me like grab a paper clip and some gum and like some like some foil and like, well, here's a lockpick. But then it's fragile, like, so it's gonna have a usage die attached where it has a chance to break every time you use it. But as they level, they get better at making stuff, so that stuff gets like they can make more complex stuff, but the stuff also gets sturdier and stuff. So it's not the most exciting, I guess, but as far as like the classes that I've written so far, that's probably the more unusual one because I kind of had to figure out like a little bit of a crafting system for them. So.
You've got a crafting system for them.
Yeah. Before we come on to that, you've mentioned dice now twice that I've picked up. Reload and usage.
Yeah.
Does that mean you've removed a lot of the numbers and replaced them with the dice? If you roll a 1 on the dice, the weapon needs reloading. You spent all your ammo, or the item is spent and needs to be replaced.
Yeah. So I wanted to cut down on all that bean counting. So I came up with this kind of like almost universal usage dice system, and it's used for different things. So like you said, reloading. It's used for armor checks. So one thing I did kind of just real quick, and we can get more into that later, is I separated like AC from armor. So AC is like defense, and you can just wear a trench coat and still have high defense, and then armor just gives you damage reduction. But maybe you're wearing a Kevlar vest and you get hit by a hunting rifle, and the referee's like, well, that's a pretty powerful caliber. Give me like an armor check. And then if you roll a 1 on the die that's attached to that armor, your armor is destroyed and you need to like replace it or repair it. Then I also have a depletion check. So if you have like a flashlight, it's like, hey, give me a roll to see if your battery is held up. Or you have like a magical artifact that like that only has like so many charges, like stuff like that. And then there's also a breakage check. So that's like, hey, this item is kind of fragile. Give me a roll to see if it holds up or not. So yeah, so all that stuff, I kind of just attached usage die to that, and they go from D2 to D12. And basically, as long as you don't roll a 1, you're good. But because there's the different levels, if you have a D2 usage die on your armor, the chance to roll a 1 is pretty high.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah. If you have a D12 on it, it's pretty low. So, you know, you might be lucky there. So, yeah.
Okay.
Like that. That's lovely. Can I now sneak into my favourite topic?
Oh, it is. It is. Off you go.
So the reason this is my favourite topic is because, funnily enough, I tend to always play, where possible, spellcasters. I love wizards. That's my big excitement. I love them. So we're now going to stray into spellcasting and spells.
Yeah.
So do you want to just walk us through how spellcasting works in your system, whether you have spell slots, spell points, how you gain spells, how you expend spells, how many you get, all of that really good juicy stuff.
So I kind of went away from the Vancian magic system, and I'm doing magic schools. So as a wizard, as a spellcaster, you can specialize in these 1 or 2 or 3 schools. And they're very specific. So it could be like demonology, it could be necromancy, it could be technomancy, it could be like aquamancy, and you do like water magic. It could be pyromancy, and you're like a fire mage. So that's why I'm doing it, because I never really enjoyed like the hodgepodge of spells that, for the most part, old school D&D has. Like, I have fireball and magic missile and like cloud kill, and there's like not really a theme there. So I wanted to give wizards a theme, and that also lets me play more with the subclasses. So that made that easier. So yeah, I'm doing magic schools like that, and then I'm doing a roll to cast system, kind of like Shadow Dog, where instead of spell slots, you just use that challenge throw table to roll your spells. So it's like, hey, I have a fireball spell that's like a moderate difficulty throw. You roll. If you make the roll, you cast a spell. If you don't make the roll, you lose that spell for the day. If you roll a 1, something bad happens. Basically, maybe the fireball blows up in your face, like or you set the house on fire that you're in, and now trying to escape that place. As far as how you earn more spells, so it's a combination of as you level up, you just like get to pick more spells within your school, like the basic spells. But I'm also putting in the abilities to find like artifacts and grimoires and stuff in the world. So, what if you find the Necronomicon? Well, now you might get access to a completely new school of magic that's not part of like the stuff that you get to pick at character creation. It's like some weird Lovecraftian magic, and as long as you don't go insane, now you have access to this crazy school of magic with all these custom spells attached. Or maybe you find like a unique artifact that's tied to your pyromancy magic, and now you get like a pyromancy spell that you don't get normally. So that's the kind of way I'm handling that.
Excellent. So when I sort of go adventuring, how does this mean I can cast, as long as I can just basically cast whatever I want whenever I want?
Yeah, as long as you're the right level. So I do still have levels for spells. So there's level 1 spells to level 5. So if you're not at high enough level yet, you're not going to be casting the level 5 spells unless you have like some artifact that allows you to. But yeah, for the most part, otherwise, as long as you make your roll, you can just keep casting that spell. So as long as you make your roll, you can just keep casting fireball every round. But if you don't make the roll, then you lose that spell until you rest. Or if you really botch that roll, then something bad's gonna happen, and yeah. So
that's really interesting. That's nice, because it means you're never sort of going, well, I've cast my 2 spells for the day and I'm out. Yeah, I like that. We like anything that allows me as a spellcaster to cast.
Having rolled your 4th one in a row, going, I'm out of spells and I've killed half the party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, I think, that you're looking at taking all of the classes up to sort of level 10.
Mm-hmm.
So how powerful does magic actually become in your game?
I'm planning to just cap them out at level 5, and that's like the really crazy spells where like wish and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's also kind of like, it makes it easier because that's half of 10. So
yeah.
So basically, you just get to like have a new level of spells like every 2 levels or so.
So does that mean that what we tend to reference as world-changing spells? So wish, miracle. Have you got teleportation?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have divinations? Are they all sort of included?
Yeah, though some of them you might have to find in the world. Like I said, wish probably won't be part of like, hey, I get that at level 10 as I level up. That's probably something that you would have to find in the world by like talking to a djinn or something in the desert and hope that he doesn't like curse you and put you in a maze for like 3,000 years, And then if you make it, then hey, I get to cast a wish spell. But then after that, there's other concerns because it's a modern world and there's going to be basically agencies that control magic, because they don't want everyone to just run around and cast like all these crazy world-altering spells willy-nilly. There's going to be like the ATF, but it's for magic, Yeah. So hey, I just cast wish. Some satellite picked up this like massive burst of magical energy. Now I've got like governments after me because I did something like really crazy. So there's always going to be some
There's
in-world
consequences.
there's consequences to doing stuff like that.
Excellent. So, and this is quite interesting because if you've got something like teleport, but if you're talking about where you've got modern sort of world transportation systems like airplanes and stuff like that, how does that sort of work with both of them? Do you find when you're looking at how people are actually play the game, do you think they'll go down more of the, well, as soon as we can get teleport, we'll just ping everywhere? Or do you think that real world travel will actually take precedence?
Probably, I think they will take precedence because, like I said, there will be consequences. Like, yeah, I can teleport around, but people will notice. And they might not even like that I'm teleporting around because it's like, well, what if this guy is going to teleport into a bank? We don't want that. So there's high-level spells, but they're going to be fairly rare. Like a 10th level wizard, that would be like a fairly unique character. Like, it might not be unique among the players. Like, what if everyone's playing that? But in the world at large, that's not really that they see something that they see all that often. Like, not since the old days, basically. Like, magic has kind of waned and all that stuff, in the modern era. So yeah, like at that point, you're like pretty amazing, and you're doing some really crazy stuff, and people will take notice, and you might want to kind of keep it on the down low and not use it too often. So yeah, you might want to still like get on a plane or in a car and stuff like that. You're not going to be superhero teleporting all over the place without having to deal with some stuff.
I think I need a mega yacht. I reckon wizard, my own yacht.
Yeah.
Yes. I can see me with that. Yes, very nice yacht. So this leads me on to, if I'm playing a sort of cleric and I have clerical magic, does this mean I could bring back a player that had, or a character that had passed from the dead?
Yeah. So there's going to be resurrection spells, but again, like within the context of the world, that would be pretty amazing and powerful. Like it's not something that they, for the most part, like you're going to find in every hospital. There might be like a lower level mage at the hospital that can cast like cure wounds on you, and it will cost like $50,000. You get like the bill at the end of the day. But for the most part, resurrection stuff and like all that stuff is like reserved for like a pretty pretty high level. Like I said, it's not really all that common. Like the government might have it, but for the most part, like your average street mage isn't really gonna be dealing with that.
Cool.
Okay, talking of clerical magics here then. I take it you've got clerics that do healing, so they'll have access to healing magics. You mentioned cure. When you suffer damage, how do you recover the damage suffered, inflicted? Is it only through curing magics, or will a rest, for example, resting overnight, restore those lost hit points?
So resting will restore it, but it depends on where you're resting and how you're resting. So if you just got shot and you're laying low in some dingy apartment, and all you have is like some Hansaplast, some what are they called in English?
Band-aids.
Like band-aids. Like you're probably only gonna like recover like 1 hit point a day, kind of like in the old school way. If you're resting in a private clinic with like the best surgeons looking over you, you're gonna heal more hit points a day. So I have like kind of like a little kind of free-form rule for that, where the referee can kind of decide like, hey, you're resting in a hospital. Okay, so I'm going to give you 6 hit points a day back rather than just the 1, because you're not laying in some dirty apartment on a dirty mattress trying to from the bullet in your gut. So yeah.
How rare then is healing? I'm a player. I've created a cleric, and I've got cure wounds. Yeah. Can I get that at first level?
Probably a very like weak version of it.
And when you say weak, how weak? What would it restore?
I would say like maybe like 1d4, something like that.
Yeah. So each
I haven't written the spells yet, so
all right. Okay. I'm just trying to gain an understanding of just how rare healing is, or how difficult healing is. So I'm this cleric. I've got to make a spell test each time I cast cure. I hope I don't roll a 1 because I'd probably kill the person rather than cure them.
Yeah.
And I can keep doing that as long as I pass each of these successes. And I assume, what's the kind of chance at first level with, say, a 16 in my wisdom, if wisdom's used, to pass that casting test?
Probably kind of like mediocre. 16 would be fairly high, because for the most part, because it's 3d6 down the line, for the most part, most characters aren't going to have higher than like a +1, maybe +2 if they're lucky.
Okay.
Or maybe a +3 if they're really lucky. So
if I had a +2,
yeah,
what would my spellcasting test look like?
you just roll your d20 plus your +2, and maybe maybe you have like a bonus from your class because you're a cleric and you're level 2 and you picked the healing guy subclass.
Yeah.
I don't have a name yet, but so
like healing guy
Healing guy's
subclass.
great.
That sounds
I
great.
like it.
yeah. So you would probably maybe have like a +2, 3, 4 at most.
And
So,
what number am I looking to roll against? So what do I need to roll?
So I would probably make that like a fairly difficult roll to kind of keep it.
So healing is a difficult spell to pull off.
Yeah.
So it's going to immediately be difficult.
Yeah, so that would probably be a hard throw. So at level 1 and 2, that would be a 17 that you would have to beat. So yeah.
Okay, this is great because
Yeah.
I'm now visualizing. I'm this cleric. I think, I'm just going to play a cleric because I can just heal the party. I mean, there's no Vancian magic. I can just cast at will. And then I pick up my d20. I have a +2 because I'm only first level, haven't specialized. I got 14 or 15 in my wisdom. I need to roll 15 or higher. Yeah. 3 times out of 4, the spell's not going to go off, and I can't use it for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and that's just for healing one guy. Like, what if you have a party of 6 and everyone's wounded?
Exactly.
So,
this is where your
challenge.
reliance on potentially a healing skill with healing kits or med packs is probably better than relying on a priest with healing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then fairly quickly, if they survive, they will get like the ability to like cast like mass heals and all that stuff, and they might find like some artifact, like some staff that they found in like some crypt in the Vatican, and it's like from some saint, and it has like a really cool, powerful healing spell attached. So eventually, you are going to be able to do cool stuff. But yeah.
Yep.
So Victor, when we're looking at this game, and of course we've got combat. Now, I have to admit, I'm rather a fan of combat. I love me role playing, but I also really enjoy a good combat session.
Yeah.
Could you take me through how combat works in your game?
So for the most part, it's kind of standard OSR fare. You roll your d20 against the enemy's AC, or in this case, defense score. And if you beat it, you do damage. Where it differs is that I've kind of hinted at this before, is where I took AC and I detached it from having to wear armor specifically. So I called it defense score, and you can literally just be a detective in a trench coat and a fedora and still get into gunfights and not just horribly die immediately because you're not wearing the best armor. So I'll just read what it actually says. So in the modern world of Streets of Magic, most people aren't walking around in full plate armor. In fact, even wearing a visible Kevlar vest in public could easily attract the wrong kind of attention. Because of this, a character's defense score is not determined by the armor they wear, but by the character's general training, reflexes, and good instincts. A character's defense score is primarily derived from a base number plus relevant attribute plus this class-specific defense bonus, the latter improving as they level. So the base number for I think I put it at 10. So you always have at least 10 defense score. Then you add your reflex bonus on top of that. So if it's like a 3, you have like a 13. And then you also get another number from your class that improves as you level, and combat classes for the most part have a better one than non-combat classes. So the shooter, for example, just off the top of my head, they could have like a +2 bonus at level 1. So at level 1, their AC, the defense score, is a 15. So enemies will have to beat a 15 to hit that character. But then that character can also wear armor if they can afford it, or if they're in a situation where it makes sense. And then the armor, it simply just gives the damage reduction. But then, as I said before, armor can also break. So armor does have a breakage die attached. And if the referee is like, "Hey, you just got hit by a shotgun and you're wearing a Kevlar vest, give me a roll to see if your armor held up that onslaught." So you can lose your armor. So it's not you're not gonna have you're not always gonna have that damage reduction if you're unlucky. Another thing that I have is that I have damage types. So specific weapons and specific spells and stuff like that will do specific types of damage. So ballistic damage. A sword will do what I call sharp damage. I kind of combined slashing and stabbing in one. I just call it sharp. A club will do blunted damage. A fireball spell will do fire damage. And then armor, for the most part, will only protect against specific damage types. So Kevlar vest will only protect against ballistic and sharp damage. It's not going to do much against the fireball.
But you love that.
But yeah, you could also wear like a fireproof suit, and then you are protected against that fireball. But then you're maybe weak against other stuff, like because that fireproof suit isn't going to work too well against bullets. So there's always kind of like this trade-off. You have to be a little bit tactical and like consider what kind of situations you might be getting into to decide what armor you want to wear, or if you're even going to wear any. Because like I kind of implied in that little read up there. If you're walking around in like a Kevlar suit in public, people are going to be like, "What's that guy doing?" So yeah.
So this is where I start thinking about this, and I think about the modern world.
Yeah.
And then I think about some of the depictions we've had of in sort of modern film and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I'm starting to think, would you see in your game, would you see the sort of similar stuff to like John Wick, where they had the smart suits and everything? They were really so you could actually be walking down the streets, you could be wearing what looks like normal clothes, but they're actually built, that they're actually special fibers,
and it's like spider silk,
so they've actually been designed so that you can fit in with the modern day, but you've got that extra layer of protection.
But it's probably not cheap. Like that would be like a bespoke suit that you get from some high-level underground armor guy, and you're like a top-level assassin, and you paid like $50,000 for that suit. But it's not something that everyone's gonna wear.
Tailoring suddenly sort of takes off, and making this these really sort of expensive suits is the best job to have if you're not an adventurer. No, that sounds great.
But you could also just be a cop, and like your Kevlar vest is like standard issue. And since you're a cop and you have your badge, nobody's gonna be like, "What's that guy doing in the Kevlar vest?" But you could also be a bank robber. And then you're sitting in your van and you're putting on your Kevlar suit and you're like your ballistic mask and you're like loading your guns, and then all of a sudden you and your crew exit the van and everyone's like, "Oh, something's going on," and everyone scatters because that looks scary.
You're not used to it, No, I like that. I do like that.
Can I quickly visit the armor breaking? Is there a rule for when that check gets made?
No, I kind of leave it up in the air. So I kind of say like it could be right after a particularly nasty hit. It's like, "Hey, I just got sniped at with a big caliber hunting rifle. You just got hit. You're only wearing like a Kevlar vest that's kind of like rated against pistol calibers. So give me a check to see if it holds up." Or if the GM is lazy in quotes, or they don't really think it's like all that important, it could just be like at the end of combat, like, "Hey, everyone, give me an armor check to see if your armor held up during the last fight." So it's most of my stuff is like that. I kind of leave it up to the referee for when they want to engage with those mechanics.
Okay, and does that mean if I'm wearing a Kevlar vest, it does nothing against fire damage, but I'm hit with a particularly nasty fireball? Even though the armor is not protecting me, would the armor be subject to breakage?
So I do say that's like it still has a chance to break. Like even if it won't protect against fire or acid or something, it might still melt from that. So the referee is free to be like, "Hey, you just got splashed with acid. It's eating away all your stuff, so including your armor. Give me like an armor check." So I do make like a little note of that, because I thought of that as well. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds straightforward. I like the idea of armor kind of mitigating damage, and then having your evasive, your defense.
It's like kind of like your reflexes and like how good are you taking cover. Also, taking cover also does something, and is also obviously very important. Like you can flip over a table, and now the pistol bullets are like riddling that, and you're protected for a little bit. But then again, it's up to the referee, like how well does that cover hold up against certain weapons. Like that table probably isn't going to do too well against like a full-powered machine gun. So yeah, it's up to them, like what kind of bonus they want to give cover or not. So yeah.
Okay, and this bonus is typically to your would it be to your defense score?
It's to your defense score.
So you're harder to hit when you're behind the table, can't be seen.
So
is there any reason why you didn't use the advantage disadvantage in this instance?
For what exactly?
So, for example, someone hiding behind a table has disadvantage to be shot at.
Let's see. Oh, because I wanted to give it kind of like that
Gradient,
why I mentioned that range where I said like a pistol gives you a different bonus than like a machine gun.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really work with disadvantage because that's just a flat thing. So I want the GM to be able to go like, hey, that table gives you a +5 against pistols, but then another guy is shooting at you with a rocket launcher, like so that table isn't going to do anything. Basically, the machine gun
damage.
A sniper is like shooting at you to the table. Well, now it only gives you a +1 against those sniper bullets because those are like way higher caliber and like way more powerful. So they're like punching right through the table. So I kind of wanted to give that. I wanted to give that flexibility. So that's why in that case I did go for like the numbers. Like I still have numbers for certain things, but for like so it's kind of like a combination almost.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Makes sense. So I take it you said it's pretty standard combat. So you roll for initiative.
Yeah.
Highest goes first. Does that get rolled every round?
I leave that up to the referee, and I also give 2 initiative variants. So I give group initiative or an individual initiative, and it's kind of up to you which you prefer. It also depends on if you want to do the 1-minute combat rounds, like the old school 1-minute combat rounds, or if you want to do kind of like the more granular. So I leave it up to the referee, and I give the options for both.
Okay. And what can your character do when it's their turn?
They can sprint, they can shoot, they can take like a simple action for the most part. Like, in the middle of combat while you're being shot at, you're probably not going to do like some lock picking. But you might be able to make like an evasive maneuver in your car if you're like in a shootout on the highway, and you're all like speeding along the highway and some guy is chasing you or you're chasing some guy. Maybe you have to make like a maneuver, and that's when a skill check comes into play.
So is it like you got an action you can do and then kind of movement or
but it's not really all that codified. It's kind of like situational almost.
So on your turn you got to look at kind of what do I want to do, and then you just check, can I do this? And then the GM will decide, well, given the situation. Okay, so it's a quite an open you could have a player, for example, who would go, I want to cast a spell, and then I want to run across the room, dive behind that desk, and then go into my pack, and the GM can be, well, you've only got like 6 seconds if you're using a very short round. Or if you got the minute, they might go, actually, in a minute, you can probably do that. Let's do
exactly.
it. Okay. That's good.
So we've talked a bit about armor. And we've talked a bit about the combat round. Now, what's really intrigued me is you've mentioned rocket launchers and pistols, and so what sort of range of weapons have you got, and how do they actually work? So, if I'm playing a character, how would I actually utilize these weapons?
So I'm kind of known for my gun rules. Like that's what I do. Like my old school essentials book is like for the most part just rules for like firearms, and I have everything from pistols to suitcase nukes and ballistic missiles and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the reputation I have in this little scene. So I definitely go overboard with that. Not in my opinion, but But yeah, no. So I'm gonna have a ton of different weapons. All the weapons have specific qualities depending on or properties, if in the more modern term, depending on what weapon it is. So, like I mentioned earlier, shotguns have the spread quality. So if you use buckshot or buckshot-like ammunition, like birdshot or like rock salt or whatever, you have a chance, if the enemies are clustered, to hit more than one enemy. If you have an automatic weapon, you can do burst fire, so like a short burst, and it basically gives it increases your damage by 1 dice, but it also increases the chance that you have to reload. You have full auto, so you kind of make like an AoE attack, and the enemies have to make like a reflex save to see if they're hit or not. I have like suppressive fire, so you can actually like slow down enemies and like force them to take cover and stuff like that. So I have like a sniper quality, so if you like take your time to aim and you have like a bipod and a scope, you get like bonuses, and you can like shoot at longer ranges and stuff like that. So I have like all this stuff that kind of like adds like a tactical dimension to gun combat, kind of almost turns it into like a little bit of a skirmish game. Nice. And I have a mechanic for covering fire, so if you see that your buddy is in trouble, you can like provide covering fire, and that character temporarily gets like a boost to the defense score, so they can maybe like try to get away and get into safety. So yeah, so I have like all this stuff that adds like a cool tactical dimension to it.
Can you see your mate getting into trouble out of your actual turn and provide covering fire, or do you have to decide on your turn to provide that covering fire?
Let me read the rule real quick, because I can't remember what I said with that. See, when a character is in danger, an ally may choose to use ranged weapons or certain offensive spells to lay down covering fire to help them reach safety. To do this, the ally targets the enemy or enemies they deem to be posing the greatest threat and makes an attack roll. This attack deals no damage, instead targeting the nearby environment, but does grant a single endangered character of their choice a temporary defense score boost against those enemies until the start of the next round. So I guess it would be you would have to do it on your turn.
Yeah.
Your turn,
so
yeah.
But maybe that could be a good idea for like for like one of the archetypes. Maybe one of them has like an ability where they can do that as kind of like a reflex, like not a reflex, as a
snapshot.
Yeah.
Because I think in XCOM, I'm a big XCOM fan. It was originally called a snap action. So you being able to quickly respond to what was going on outside. Far less effective, wasted a lot more ammo. So it might be 2 rolls to see if you run out of ammo, but then you can do it in between the turn when you see a party member who's in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's really cool. So you did mention earlier about crafting, but I think if we just run through some of the general gear you've got available, because I'm very sort of wondering whether or not you've got stuff like parachutes, because if you're up in a plane, so you've got things like parachutes, you've got all of the sort of big things that is available in the modern world. So that's great. So I'm all right then. I'll have my boat. So I'll have a life raft.
Yeah.
That's
that would probably be part of the boat. Like I don't think I'll make like a separate item called life raft, but I like, it's like if you buy a boat, it's probably assumed to have a life raft on it. So yeah.
Fantastic.
But no, as far as basic like personal gear, like that's another thing I'm kind of known for that I go overboard with. I have like whole lists of stuff: night vision goggles, emergency flares, electronic lockpicks, parachute, scuba gear, like all the stuff. Yeah, like spike strips for stopping cars. Yeah.
That sounds great, and it sounds really interesting, and I do like that.
Yeah.
You see, one of the party members will have the boat, someone else will have the plane.
Yeah.
It'll be like the A-team all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah, I do. I do have vehicles, and there's going to be a ton of different types of vehicles. Yeah.
Okay. With all this gear, have you got anything to control how much you can carry or take with you?
Yeah, no, that's an encumbrance system, and I keep it simple. It's basically there's different levels of encumbrance, and it's like up to light encumbered is like 5 times your strength score. So basically, if you have like a strength of 10, you can carry up to 50 pounds. until you're lightly encumbered, and then it just kind of goes up from there.
Okay. So all gear has a kind of encumbrance value, or
a
weight, and
I'm just gonna like put pounds and
yeah. Okay, brilliant. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about that crafting system, so I'm going to come back to that. So we've just talked a little bit about gear. So I can make stuff. How does that work?
So certain classes, and I guess technically any class, can make certain things on the fly, depending on its complexity. So like that expert class I mentioned, they have the MacGyvering ability, so they can make like, hey, we need this, we need like a radio. Let me get my gum and my paper clip and my pocket knife, and I'll make us a radio real quick. And like the antenna is like a stick.
Here's a lemon. We'll use this as a power source.
Yeah. For the most part, like other classes aren't really going to be able to do that unless they have like a really high like engineering skill or whatever. Then I would probably allow it. But yeah, for other stuff, you're probably gonna need like workshops, and like in the A-team, you mentioned in the A-team, they always get like locked up in some place that for some reason has like a welding torch, and it has like armor plating, and it has like fireworks so they can make bombs. And like has like all the stuff needed to make like all this stuff. It's like, why did the villains lock them up in there? Like that's a bad idea. So yeah, it's like if you want to make more complex stuff, like say you have a gun and you find like an attachment for your gun, and it's not something that you can just slap onto a Picatinny rail. It's like something that you actually have to like attach to the barrel or something. You're probably gonna have to have like a toolkit for that. Maybe find like a workshop where you can actually do that. So again, it's kind of like situational, and it's like a little bit up to the referee what they will allow. But
I think I'm going to have a workshop on my boat.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to have a workshop on my boat.
Yeah.
So that we've got somewhere to retreat to, and I can build stuff that I need. I quite like the thought of that.
Yeah, a smart character will definitely do that.
Yeah, and whilst I'm away, I'll even have a minion. Can I get minions? Can I get my own sort of followers and stuff? I might actually employ a follower or two to be making stuff on my boat while I'm off adventuring.
And that could be fun. Could be a fun downtime activity.
Yeah, I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then absolutely great.
Yeah, and then the usage die could also come into play there, because if you make like a flimsy item, it's probably gonna break. So it's like, hey, I just made that radio, but it has like a breakage die of only like a D3. So every time you use it, you roll on it. It's like, oh, I rolled a 1, like it blew up. Well, so yeah.
So George, can I have my paper back, please?
Yes. What's the economy like within the game? Because your typical 5e game, you start first level and you might find 10, 100 gold. By the time you reach 10th level, you're finding tens of thousands of gold. And by the time you reach 20th level, you're finding hundreds of thousands of gold. And it just gets ridiculous. What's your economy like?
Well, it's technically Earth. It's the real world, just with fantasy elements. So anything in real life that you can do to make money, you can do in this. You can. I actually have a very simple system where it takes like your wealth level into account. So you could be like poor or like very rich, and it kind of gives you like a monthly allowance almost. So like, hey, if I'm rich, I get like $50,000 a month because I'm rich. That's like my character concept. But for the most part, you just have to earn money, like I said, the way you do in real life. So, so you can be like a mercenary and say, like, hey, I'm paying you $10,000 to like go raid this base and like some country somewhere. Or you could be an assassin and you get like paid for doing stuff. Or you could be a bank robber and it's like, hey, I just held up a money truck and now we made off with like $500,000. So that's kind of where like the money, the whole money thing comes in. Or you could be like a treasure hunter, like an Indiana Jones type, and I just found like a golden statue in some ruins somewhere, and I'm selling it. So
it's based pretty much in the real world. So your level doesn't really dictate how much money you're going to find or earn. No, it's what you do and how good you are at doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's sensible. That's nice. We've already touched upon things like finding grimoires, Necromonicon. I think you mentioned earlier contacting eldritch beings. Is there a lot of magic gear you can actually find or create?
Yeah, so that's gonna be kind of like almost like modern mass-produced magic gear. It's like, hey, I go to the not the hardware store, but like the sporting goods store, and I bought like some gloves of spider climb that they use for like mountain climbing and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like that kind of stuff. And then there's also like the really rare, like scary artifacts that the Fae left behind, and like these ancient wizard kings and stuff like that, or like old holy artifacts. And that magic tends to be like a little bit more powerful, a little bit more rare, and like it's not really like the mass-produced stuff. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So
Are you restricting some of that? So where I'm thinking about, I'm off as a first level adventurer and I find something that's incredibly rare. Would you restrict when I would be able to use that?
Not mechanically, but within the world there might be consequences. If you find like an ancient artifact that's like really powerful, that's probably gonna get you some. If people notice, that's probably gonna get you some attention. If you find like an ancient holy artifact beneath some crypt of like a saint, well, and you're just like using it willy nilly, like maybe the Vatican gets mad. Like I don't know, like maybe like I said, yeah, maybe like the magical ATF is like, hey, like that item is very highly illegal, give that up. Or maybe it's like, hey, that belongs in a museum. So there are consequences like in world to stuff like that. But again, that's kind of like up to the referee how deep they want to go into that.
Fantastic. No, that's really interesting. So we've mentioned about magic items. We've also mentioned about the economy.
Yeah.
How do you deal with rewards and treasure? And as I'm adventuring, what sort of stuff can I get? And how easy is it for the GM to put that together? Have you got tables? How do you work on that?
Yeah, so I do have like treasure tables, and the way I'm probably gonna do them is the same way I did them in one of my previous games, Modern Necessities, where it's like this is civilian loot. Like I'm looting like just a regular guy. So there's like a civilian loot table that has like all the equipment and like all random stuff that a civilian would have. This is criminal loot. This is like what a criminal might have on him, or in an area like owned by criminals. Like I just raided a drug lab. So like what would criminals have laying around this drug lab? So you roll on the criminal loot tables. And then I have the same for law enforcement, for military, for like magical items and stuff like that. So it's kind of like themed almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So what I'm finding quite interesting now, we've just gone through the loot tables.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these tend to be sort of very, I'm going to say race or human centric. It's, what about creatures? When in this new world of ours, so we've got the different races, the Fae have left. Does this mean that we've got lots of different creatures upon this world as well? Does that have any impact on certain things? I'm thinking about, I'm going on holiday as a normal person and I'm flying over to Cyprus. Does my plane have to be concerned about encountering a dragon en route?
Dragons not so much because they're considered extinct, though they're not really. There's kind of like a conspiracy theory attached to that where people say like, how powerful people are actually dragons. It's like, the US president is actually a dragon. So, that kind of stuff. But that's kind of like a side tangent there. But the different races do affect equipment and weapons in particular. So one thing that I've also done earlier in some of my earlier products and that people really enjoyed is I had what I call cultural firearms. So not every race is going to design their guns the same way. Dwarves have a very specific design philosophy. Elves have a design philosophy. Halflings have a design philosophy. So I have kind of like bonuses and penalties for each like firearm type specific to race. And I'm probably going to do something similar for like general equipment. So if you're like looting some equipment, like I said, like you're raiding a drug lab and you're rolling on the criminal table, the referee is like, well, these are like halfling drug dealers. So the equipment that you're looting is like, for the most part, it's like halfling stuff. So, you know, maybe there's like specific bonuses or negatives attached to that. So yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely great. So when you're pulling together so I'm a GM and I'm pulling together my encounters, what sort of thing would I expect to put into an encounter?
Sorry, repeat that. I just got distracted for a moment.
See, it's
Yeah.
probably cats. If it's anything like ours.
Yeah, it was actually.
yeah. I've got George sat right here still, and I'm like going, "Don't you dare chew anything."
Yeah.
So say I'm the GM and I'm pulling together an encounter. What sort of things would I do to bring into this encounter? What creatures, what type of things would I be able to utilize to make this encounter come alive?
So I'm gonna have like a whole monster list, like a creature list, an NPC list, and I'm also gonna have like encounter tables that are kind of like keyed to certain districts of the city and certain themes and stuff like that. So like, what if you're in the sewers? So yeah, you know, there's an encounter table for that. So maybe you run into like sewer elementals, you know, like you can kind of you can probably picture what those are made out of. Or, you know, there's like a nest of giant spiders in there, or there's like a crazy
no,
like
spiders.
there's like a crazy troll hobo like living down there, like, you know, he's coming at you with a broken bottle. You know, so yeah, so basically like that. It's you know, just the regular old school, like, what area are we in? What kind of tables do I have available for that? Or maybe you want to make your own tables, obviously. And just roll to see what we randomly encounter. Unless the referee obviously has like a specific narrative in mind, then, you know, they can just make up what they want to throw at you. But yeah,
absolutely, thank you.
Yeah. Talking of the referee, how easy is it to make a creature in the system?
It's basically the same way as in like any old school OSR game. The stat blocks are very simple.
Yeah.
I want this game to be compatible with other OSR products for the most part. Like the basic experts Makrohitel, for example. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. Is Aztec themed OSR game. The basic expert is one of my friends, Jonathan Forrest.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, basic expert. Yeah,
and he wrote a game called Makrohitel, which is like Aztec themed, and it's also based on White Box. So I want my game to be compatible with stuff like that, where with the old school in general, where it's like, hey, we're gonna take the Isle of Dread adventure and we're gonna populate it with monsters from Makrohitel, and we're gonna run it with Streets of Magic, and now we're doing like some kind of like Skull Island type situation. So I'm keeping the stat blocks for the most part the same. The only thing that really changes is like some of the terms are different. So instead of AC, it's like defense score.
Not bottom on screen.
Only some of the terms are slightly different. Like AC is defense score, and then I'm gonna have like a little like conversion thing. Like, hey, if you want to convert like a monster from another compatible product to this is what you have to do, and it's very simple and straightforward. So
that sounds great, and that's really good because it means that, you know, especially when you've got a network of people that you work with, you know, like the basic expert, it means that you're both supporting each other with what you're putting out. And I think that's fantastic. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts of the OSR in general is just like that cross compatibility. I like being able to take old TSR products or stuff that other people have made and still at least roughly use it with my products. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think that's also sort of really great when you look at sort of the indie community as a whole. I mean, there's only so many of us, and I think that's really nice to pull across.
Mm-hmm.
So, hang on, George, stop it. Sorry, George is just trying to eat my cable. You see, this is what happens when you have multiple cats, Victor.
Yeah, I have 2, so yeah.
Yeah, we've got 5.
Oh, geez.
And it's the
Yeah.
I've got one asleep over there. George is here, and by the looks of it, Dean's got Alfie.
Yeah.
I've got Alfie.
Yeah, I was taking a nap before this, and my oldest cat kept waking me up because just like pulling at my face. So yeah.
No.
I'm glad it's not just us.
Yeah.
So with this setting, when I look at it, you've got sort of Earth, but it's sort of modern day Earth with a really interesting twist.
Yeah.
From what you've explained, I don't think you have to use that setting with your system. You could actually utilize your system with other settings.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite great. But when I look at your setting, I love how unique it is with the back history of the Fae were there. They've left their servants and then they've left, and there's this big mystery. And I love the fact that you refer to that as a conspiracy theory about things like dragons are still actually here, but they're actually just disguised and they're running everything.
Yeah.
When you look at your setting, how ingrained would you say it is with your world, with your system? Would you? I know we can switch it out, but would you say it's quite ingrained with your system?
Yeah. No, it's fairly ingrained. Like the system is built for that setting, but you can also just make your own urban fantasy setting, and it should work fairly well. Or you can just strip out all the fantasy and the magic and just do like straight up modern if you want to. So it should all work pretty seamlessly like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. From what I was seeing, I could see that. So at the moment, Streets of Magic, you've actually got that out on Kickstarter at the moment.
Yes. I launched March 1st, so it's been about a week now.
Oh, about a week. And I've heard rumours that you are already fully funded.
Yeah, I funded in the first 10 hours. I'll admit it slowed down a lot after that, but that's the nature of Kickstarters. But I was glad that I funded that quickly, because that takes away a lot of stress.
Yes.
Of the initial stress. So now it's just a wait and see game to see how much I end up. But so if you back, then you can pretty much be assured that you're gonna get the game at this point. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Now Kickstarters are typically used in order to get funding for bringing the game to market. So what are you looking at utilizing the Kickstarter funds for?
So I need the funds to get some of the art finished. So I already ordered a lot of art, but it's expensive. I don't use. I'm not using stock art for this. I don't use AI. I have an actual artist that I commissioned called Nolan Collins, and he does really great work. If you look at the Kickstarter page, you can see it. He has like really amazing black and white art that really fits the vibe that I'm going for, like that timelessness. So yeah, I just need the funds to have him basically finish the book. And then I also need the funds to pay for the offset print. So this is going to be my first offset print that I'm trying. So before I always just did PDF and then print on demand on TTRPG. Yeah. And those are also options for this. So you can just take the PDF if you want, or you can get one of the print on demand books. But then one of the higher tiers is like an actual offset print. So I'm going to get those done from a professional printer in the US. And then I'm going to use a fulfillment company to get them shipped out. But that costs money. So yeah. So the funds are basically going to go towards that, and then paying for an editor and all the usual stuff basically. And then hopefully, I'll be honest, hopefully something left over for me at the end of the day.
Considering the amount of effort it takes in designing these games. I mean, we've been designing ours for a while, and the amount of effort and the number of drafts, the amount of times you have to redo stuff, or the play testing, we absolutely understand. And this is all about, at the end of the day, you would like to make something from it, have a bit of a reward for what you do. So fingers crossed, we will definitely check out that Kickstarter, and we recommend everybody check out the Kickstarter for Streets of Magic.
The link to the Kickstarter will be in the description of the video. So please click away.
Go and check it. Go check it out. The middle bit, running a Kickstarter, gets really quiet and is always stressful. So yes, Yeah, everyone give it a bit of a boost. I think that would be lovely, and it would make you smile, wouldn't it, Victor?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Good.
I just started a bit as a business too. I like just last month registered as a business, so now there's like all this other stuff I have to worry about.
Oh
and
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would definitely like this to be successful because it
Good.
kind of involves my future at this point.
Yes.
So yeah,
And we completely understand
Yeah.
that. And I love the fact you're doing this. I love the fact you're passionate about what you're doing.
yeah. Thank you.
The way that you're actually incorporating all the warfare, the guns, but with that Fey sort of background,
Yeah,
that is just so intriguing.
yeah,
And you've thought it through. You've got something really nicely coming together, and I just think that's stunning.
Yeah.
So yes, check out that Kickstarter. And I love the fact you're using real artists.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
though, and it's so funny. People say, "Oh, just do or just get," but there is something to be said about real art and how it brings your
Yeah.
vision alive. And by the sounds of it, you've got an artist you really mesh with.
Yeah. He's done work for me before, and I've always loved his art. He's easy to work with. He's not too expensive. He always gets really excited about my projects and like personally invested, which is like important.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I decided to basically before my previous books were kind of like a hodgepodge of different artists because I was still figuring things out. But this one, I was like, I'm just going to use Noland, and so all the art is uniform. It's all him. The book has like a nice uniform look that way. And one of the big reasons why I got into this business is that I wanted to emulate the books that I grew up with, like the books that I used to look at back in the day, and those all had like real art. So I want to do that. So yeah.
No, I have to say, hats off to you. We know how hard that is. We know how expensive that is, and it's a challenge. So well done, because there is something to be said about that sort of, it just finishes off a project perfectly in my books.
Yeah, definitely.
That's lovely. Is there anything that you want to tell us about your game that we haven't covered?
So I can talk a bit about the setting more. So it has like
that'd be great.
It has that timeless feel, like I mentioned. One thing I'm also doing is that it's set on Earth, but I'm purposely putting in like fictional places as well. I'm kind of giving it like that comic book feel, where like that Marvel DC feel, but it's Earth, but Metropolis is over there, and Gotham City is over there, and then there's that place that in Eastern Europe that Doctor Doom's the dictator of. That kind of gives me the freedom to. Because I'm not American. Like I don't know what LA looks like. I don't know what New York looks like. So I could have set my game in New York, but I would get things wrong. So I made it a fictional city called Lightwood. It's set in a fictional state called Dorado. It's kind of like a desert state with like all the mesas and stuff like that. But it's like based on Utah and like all that junk. But it's called Dorado, and it kind of like allows me to. Do my own thing, kind of give it like that comic book feel. It allows me to do stuff with alternate history, which I'm also a big fan of.
Fantastic.
Like I mentioned earlier, like in my setting, like during the War of the Roses, King Arthur came back and he's like, "Yeah, I'm taking over Britain, guys." One thing I'm doing is that Japan is a shogunate still, instead of an empire. So basically, in that war in the 1800s between the shogunate and the imperials during the Meiji Restoration, the shogun won, and to this day it's still a shogunate. So there's like all this like pseudo modern like samurai stuff. There's like yokai running around, like all that stuff. So yeah, I'm just having fun with the setting. I thought that was important to kind of like put my own stamp on it. So yeah.
That's absolutely great. So
yeah,
I mean, because you yourself, you're from the, so have you sort of focused anywhere on Europe and stuff like that? Have you expanded around that area?
So the core book is going to be pretty American centric. So it's like set in this American city in this American state. So it's like I said, it's going to be America centric. But I do have plans for expansions and supplements. And I definitely want to do like a Europe source book, and then I'll probably make up some fictional European city or country to set it in, and then kind of use that as the jumping off point to talk about what is Europe like in this setting. So
I think we might also need a UK setting with King Arthur. I think that sounds like a really good idea. Yeah.
And one thing I can also do is use all that history for books where it's like, okay, what if it's this world, but it's like the Middle Ages in Britain? What if it's set during like that time when King Arthur returned, or what if it's like set in its version of the Old West? So I can play around with a lot of stuff.
So you can actually move sort of through the timeline. And sort of do snapshots of of the setting in different timelines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's really quite fun.
Yeah, so I can do kind of like an Arcanum. Do you guys know that old PC game Arcanum, where it's like steampunk D&D fantasy?
Yes, I remember that.
I can do that. So because it's like, hey, this is like Victorian times. What was it like in Victorian times in this setting? So yeah.
I think that's superb.
Yeah.
So
I think
what happens after
the
Kickstarter? So you get the Kickstarter we know is going to fund, right? It funds really well because we're really positive about this. So it'll fund really well. And you're like, woohoo! What does the future hold for you, and what does the future hold for Streets of Magic? We've talked about some expansions, but where do you see it going from there?
I wanted to be kind of like my mainline game that I work on. Like I'm still planning to do stuff for like Shadow Dark and whatnot, because it's fun and it's also a good way to bring in extra funds. But I want this to be like kind of like my mainline brand. So I have like ideas for all those expansions and whatnot. Maybe at some point I'll do like a second edition. You know how it goes. Like you always have like 5 years from now, it's like, I'm a way better designer now. I'm gonna like completely redo this. Let's see, where was I going with this?
Kind of lost flights of. Are we going to have flights of magic that goes to space?
Oh yeah,
Are you going to go to Mars? That's what I want to know. Are you going to head off to the moon and to Mars?
Oh well, one of my ideas for expansion is like a cyberpunk expansion. So like, what if it's this setting, 50 years from now or 70 years from now, and kind of do my own take on Shadowrun almost. So it'll be like a book of cyberpunk specific classes and gear and what's the city like in this hypothetical future. At that point you can definitely maybe you can go to Mars, and maybe in this setting, like I haven't decided yet, but maybe in this setting Mars is kind of more like John Carter of Mars. There's actual like creatures running around on there. Like who knows? Maybe they have their own magic system. Maybe the Fae also settled there for a while and they did some stuff, but they did it differently than they did on Earth. So it's like a whole unique like ecosystem. So who knows? So yeah, that actually sounds fun. I might actually do that.
I think that sounds really good fun, and I think I think go make notes. Otherwise, you'll be like me, and what you'll do is, boy, that was a really good idea, and you'll walk out the room and completely forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do that all the time.
No, that sounds absolutely excited, and I can't wait to see where you go with this. Dean, I want to check with you before we finish. Have you got any other questions that we've missed, we've skipped over, that I just sat on and I haven't gone through?
No, I think we've been pretty thorough, and I do like the sound of this. I think you're doing some amazing work here. Congratulations on funding. Let's hope we get those numbers up a lot higher. And we'll support you in any way we can.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I had fun.
It'll be great, actually, when you've had... Oh, one last question. It's just come to me.
Sure.
So when the Kickstarter finishes, which will be around the beginning of... So 1st of April, what is your plan then for providing the goods after the Kickstarter? Is it like 6 months out, a year out? What's the sort of timeline are you expecting?
I always give myself at least a year officially.
Yeah.
Even if I am planning to get done way sooner, but I just want to like cover myself basically. Yeah. So I always give myself a year officially to at least have like the PDF out and stuff like that. I plan to have that done way before that. I still need to finish some stuff. Like I still have it's still a work in progress. I still need to like order art to finish it off. But I want to at least have a PDF done fairly quick. And then after that, it won't be too long until the print-on-demand versions are out, because that's just a matter of uploading files on Drive to RPG and then dealing with all that hassle. And then, the offset print, I have no idea. It's my first offset print. I don't really have any experience with all of that, so I'll have to see. I don't foresee too many problems, and I don't foresee it being like taking too long. So yeah, hopefully within a year, everyone will have all that stuff. So yeah.
That sounds great. And I think at one point we're actually thinking about bringing people together, talking about sort of trials, tribulations of Kickstarters, and also what it's like trying to get stuff out and deliver, and things like, print on demand versus the other print methods you've just discussed. So that would be really interesting to get you back for.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I also think it'd be really great once everything's complete. Maybe you come back to take us through, show off the book, and we can talk about it a little bit more. And maybe we'll find there's been some surprise classes that you hadn't thought of at this point that made it into the book. I think that'd be fantastic. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We've really enjoyed talking to you. It sounds fantastic. Dean, I'm wittering, so
So I'm just going to say thank you so much for your time. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I thoroughly enjoyed exploring this system. So good luck for the future.
Yeah, thanks.